Hello everybody, this is Amanda. It's the 5th of February 2020 and I thought I would share a little bit of the morning sunshine with you here and also just come on really for a couple of people, well all of you, but I've had a few messages recently from a few of you saying that you're struggling a little bit with the current energies, and one lady in particular last night, I can't remember your name, but you were saying you check YouTube every day to see if I've uploaded something. Bless you. So this one's for you, okay? I think I must have had a very puritanical work ethic energy, particularly in a past life, which is sort of probably hung over into this one. And I have this thing about doing videos only when I have fully prepped for them. And I need to let go of all that control. I realise it's not actually about control. It's more just about wanting to do the videos to the best of my ability. But I'm realising that the times that we're in, some of us, all of us really, maybe just need some more regular guidance. So when I have got the opportunity, I will come on and we're just going to have a chat. So this video is going to be probably a little bit more informal than some of my other videos. There have been some pieces of information that have been coming to me, weaving in and out of my mind. And it's almost as though I say, okay, I'm going to park that and then I'll come back to it and do a full video on that subject. And then just the way of the world at the moment, things are happening so fast every day. I'm not able to catch up on myself really, and all of the things that Spirit is bringing for us to be looking at. So I think these sort of videos are going to be quite invaluable through this year, and they're going to be less structured, but we're going to look at maybe quite a few different things, and I'm also going to pull a couple of cards for us. So let's just light a candle, and I'm lighting this candle for my mum today because it's her birthday. My mum is 74 today, and yeah, send her a little bit of love. She's not feeling too good today. We were supposed to be going out shopping, which is her favourite ever activity, particularly if it's with me, bless her. But she doesn't feel well enough, so hence I've got a couple of free hours. So I'm going to catch up with her later today, and my daughter is making her some birthday cake, and we'll have just a more sort of chilled out afternoon with mum. So anyway, happy birthday to my mum, who's called Angela. And let's get to it. I feel I'd like to just pull a crystal card for us before I do anything. Let's just see what the crystal energies are around us. Okay, that one's shot out. Yeah, we all need that. Azechulite. Azechulite. I have got one of these, but I think it's probably in Bristol, where we make the crystal essences to go into the sprays. I certainly used to have one. So I know that azechulite is a crystal. Let me just put it up so you can see how to spell it, which helps us to hold more light. And I think we really need to be doing that at the moment. We really need to be holding the light. Let's just have a look, though, at what the official book says about it. It's a Judy Hall oracle deck. I think it's just called, what is it called? I'll put it in the description below, whatever it's called. So number 26 is called Cosmic Evolution. Okay, so I can see the way this is going. I was talking about, on my Facebook page a few days ago, I did a little mini video where I was talking about Revolution. There was a card that came up which was called Revolution. It was actually from it was a Tony Carmine. It was the Art of Love Tarot, and it's the card which is actually linked into the Hanged Man, which is about needing to see things from a different perspective. And but on that particular deck it's called Revolution, and I was saying if you drop the R in Revolution you get evolution. So here we've got azechulite as a crystal energy, which is to do with cosmic evolution. And it says azechulites are imbued with immense spiritual energy and information for guidance and insight. They are here to help Earth ascend into a higher expression of consciousness. And it says, although you are a being of light, here to help Earth evolve, and although you need to rise above mundane concerns, keep your feet on the ground and deal with the everyday. Too much emphasis on sweetness and light leads to ignoring your shadow, which becomes inauthentic and lethal. Niceness, if not acknowledged and integrated. Stay real and leave your ego behind. So I think actually I have got an azechulite. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that they come in all sorts of different colours. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is one. This is, I think I'm right. Can you see that? So they look a bit like that. This one is a peach one, I think. But yes, so it's about integrating our light, but equally not ignoring our shadow. And there's a lot of shadow that's coming up at the moment, and there's a lot of ego that's coming up as well. So when we see it in ourselves, it's important to acknowledge it, to process it, and to deal with it, basically, and not push away the more uncomfortable aspects of ourselves because they're not pretty. It's about owning all of who we are in 2020. Again, going back to the whole thing about 2020 vision. 2020 vision isn't just about seeing the nicey nice stuff. It's also about seeing the stuff that actually we've been shying away from. So azechulite is the crystal energy that we've got today. And let's just pull, I'm going to pull a few cards. But as I'm just sort of shuffling, I'm also going to say to you that I've been having a bit of information come in with regard to the American election, and which is due to take place in November, I believe. And the information that is coming in, and this is not complete, and as I say, this is where I'm sort of like, oh, I really want to be doing a whole video just on this one particular subject. But this week I don't have the time. So I'm just going to tell you as the sort of the nuggets come in, because the nuggets I'm hearing will keep coming in through the year. It's a very evolving, changing landscape. Very, very hard to predict what will happen because the landscape is going to be changing considerably. But I keep getting some information about Bernie Sanders, and this is just an intuitive feeling, okay? It's just an intuitive feeling that I've got. I know there's a lot of hopes riding on Bernie Sanders for those of you that are Democrat. I'm aware a lot of people watching me are not Democrat, but you know, I've also got Democrats that watch me. In fact, over half of my audience is American. So please be nice to each other on my page this year, because you know, we are all one and we need to learn to settle our differences like grown-ups, really. And we're not necessarily being led from the top in that respect. I was just watching the news, breakfast news, and they were showing, was it the State of the Union address? I don't know, I'm not up to speed with American politics, but you know, Nancy's there ripping up the piece of the speech, I guess, behind Trump's back. It's like both of them aren't behaving maybe in the highest way that they could. So for change to happen at the top, for what you want to see at the top, you need to change. We need to change, not just you, we all need to change our own behaviours around tolerance and listening to what somebody else says that you don't necessarily agree with. It's a case of moving on from throwing our toys out of the pram and behaving as though we're in the infant school to moving up a grade. And you know, the whole energy of namaste, which is the divine in me sees the divine in you. Well, if you truly believe that, then the divine in me sees the divine in you, and that is without exception, okay? That is without exception. It doesn't say, but I don't see it if you're a Democrat, or I don't see it if you're a Republican, or I don't see it if you do this, or I don't see it if you behave like that. The divine in me sees the divine in you, whoever you are. So we have to lead, the grassroots movement has to lead, and then eventually it will filter up to those at the top of our society. And this isn't just about America, it's about politics generally around the world. In the UK, just to fill you in, yesterday, there's a new Labour MP who I think she used to be a soap actress, actually. Again, no judgment, but she did. That's where she's come from. And she was in Parliament talking about, what was she? You see, that's the point. Nobody's even talking about what she was talking about. And I think it was quite relevant and quite important. It was about Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson has been trying to dictate which members of the press can be briefed in Number 10. And so a number of journalists have walked out in protest at this because it's sort of unheard of territory here in the UK. She was talking about that. But the point is, nobody was listening to what she was saying because she had a bare shoulder. She had a dress that was off the shoulder, quite loose, so she was showing her shoulder. And it's all about that. People were sort of saying it's disrespectful wear, and you know, she shouldn't look like that when she's in the Houses of Parliament. It's all become a bit of a farce. The point is that whether you think she should have worn it or not, the language that she then came back with, I personally felt was really disappointing. She was sort of saying something along the lines of, just responding to people who think that I've just come from standing on the corner of a street, or having sort of been, she used some pretty crass, gross, sexual language, which may very well have been aimed at her. So she was repeating what other people had said. But it's almost like if you're repeating crassness, it's coming out of your mouth. And your mouth can become contaminated by passing on lower words and energy. So it's about somehow rising above it. And rather than being sort of a case of Chinese whispers, which is he said this, they said that, I'm going to repeat this, and then it's all over the papers for everybody to see. Somehow we need to be the voice of reason. And she would have done much better to have actually said nothing and just risen above it. So again, it's just a reflection of what's out there. It's like crazy, crazy town at the moment. Anyway, back to Bernie. The vision that I keep getting with Bernie Sanders is, I'm very mindful of the fact he's 80. And 80, I'm sorry, but to be the president of the USA, it is old. It's a job that carries enormous stress and strain, needs just needs a lot of energy. And I don't care what anybody says. When you get to, I'm 50, you get to 50, you haven't got the energy you had when you were 30. When you get to 60, when you get to 70, when you get to 80, when you get to 90, you don't have the energy you had when you were younger. So I asked Metatron about this, and the analogy he gave me was of a relay race. So what I see happening as things stand at the moment, as I say, this can change, is that Bernie is in, for all intents and purposes, a relay race. And in a relay, do you remember that you have to pass the baton to somebody else when they've done, you do a few laps, and then you pass the baton to somebody else. And I see that he basically gets quite close, and I don't know whether by me saying quite close, whether that means to the presidency or whether it means to the nominee for Democrat, the Democrat nominee. But it's as though he goes so far and then the baton gets passed to somebody else. And again, I mentioned on Facebook yesterday that when I just had a brief read over of the resume of most of the Democrat nominees that are still in the running, the one thing I was surprised at, and actually quite favourably surprised at, was the fact that there was a real diversity in terms of where they'd come from, cultural origins, a mix of belief systems. Also, there is somebody, I believe, who's in a civil partnership with a man, two men married, brilliant. There's also, it's a real reflection of, and women, of course, there's a woman running, Elizabeth Warren. It's not just all male and white, as has been the case in the past in all countries, not just the USA. Although, of course, you had Obama, I know, but, you know, bear with me. Generally, the world has been run by white, male, rich men. So you look at the nominations in the Democrats, and also youth. There's a lot of them who are a lot younger. So I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting." But what I was picking up was, it's almost like, I know this sounds silly, but it's like as a team they can win, but solo they can't. And do you remember months ago in a channeling, I brought through that in the future, and this isn't for 2020, this is, you know, a few years hence, maybe even decades hence, I feel what will come in is the landscape of politics generally is going to change, so that there isn't just one person at the top. Whether you call that person a president, whether you call them a prime minister, it will much more be that there will be a team leading each country. Now, you might well say, well, they all have a team. They've all got a cabinet, or, you know, whatever you call it. We call it a cabinet here. But the point is that if you take, for example, the UK, even though there is a prime minister and there is a cabinet, ultimately the decision-making power and the direction is led very much by that one person, by the prime minister. And I don't know how it happens, but it seems to be that we come more into an era of consensual politics, basically, where it's as though it's much more about there needs to be consensus. I guess it ties into the whole thing with unity consciousness. I don't think we're anywhere near there yet. But when I looked at those Democrat nominees, I thought, wow, this is almost like what I can see for the future, but it's here too early. So I don't know at the moment which one of those other nominees Bernie passes the baton to, but I do see that happening, because I do feel energetically he is the front runner. And I don't know what happened in the Iowa caucus, is that how you pronounce it, the last couple of days. But what I'm picking up there is certainly there was some sort of manipulation of the truth. And the results that are being presented to you are not the truth of what actually occurred. And I'm feeling that Bernie was way out in front. And I don't know why, but for some reason, there was as I like to say, a nobbling, okay? There was a nobbling. He was nobbled. But I pick up with him that he's got this very strong warrior spirit. He's not going to give up. And actually, there's quite a sacrificial energy with him, which is actually that he would give up his life for the cause. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I'm just saying he has that energy, which is that he will go all the way. So again, if you think about the relay race, he's running the race, he's running the laps that he needs to run, and he will run it to the absolute last breath in his body. But I feel as though there is then a point where the baton gets passed to somebody else. And I think this could happen even maybe after he's received the nomination, if he does receive the nomination. If he doesn't receive the nomination, this all happens before it, if that makes sense. I'm not picking up, a physical death necessarily for him. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm just saying that he has the energy of somebody who gives it their absolute all, okay? Whether you agree with him, whether you don't agree with him, I'm hearing he is a man of principle, and he would die for those principles, basically, okay? Let's pull one card for him, okay? And let's just see what we get. This is quite an unusual deck, so I have no idea whether this is actually going to work or not. Is this even the right deck? Hold on, let me just see. Let me just douse 1 minute. Is this the right deck to use for Bernie? Oh, that's never happened before. Well, that's weird. The pendulum's just dropped down out of my hands. I dropped it. He dropped the ball. He dropped the ball. The relay race, you dropped the baton. I'm going really cold as I say that. He drops the baton, and I'm not being told how that happens or why that happens. I don't know. I'm just giving you the analogy of the relay race. It's something we're going to have to come back to. Is this the deck to use? Okay, yeah, I am going to pull a couple of cards for Bernie from this deck. It's a great deck. It's not a tarot deck. It's quite an unusual deck. It's called, I've used it before, Healers of the Earth Oracle by Mandy Peterson, I think it is. Mandy Peterson, that's right, yeah. So what are we asking? We are asking, we're just asking for a message with regard to Bernie, okay? Bernie Sanders, one card, please. Two cards. Dashing through the snow. It says minor setbacks, delays and roadblocks. The past resurfacing. Past lives, karma. Remnants of Atlantis. So we have the energy of a horse. We have the element of water with Atlantis. On the bottom of the deck, having said that, we have the card of resilience. I will pull one more card. I just feel I need the energy of 4, but we have the energy of resilience on the bottom of the deck, which is toughness, endurance, and perseverance. He's all of those. Let's pull one more card. So there are some minor setbacks, there are some delays, there are some roadblocks, but ultimately this is a horse that's dashing through the snow. Reminds me of that Christmas song, Dashing Through the Snow on a one-horsed open sleigh. So it's leading me towards Christmas time for some reason. All right, one more card, Bernie. Quench your thirst, be receptive, rehydrate, replenish yourself. Something is being offered to the American people. And it's a question of, this card to me always reminds me of like a bride. She looks a bit like a bride. And I'm being shown, again, it's an analogy. It's like, is this bride going to be left jilted at the altar? What she is offering, what he is offering, is something that is enticing to many. Quench your thirst, rehydrate, replenish yourself, be receptive. But yet, is it taken up? And there's a lot of karma with him, because on the bottom of the deck now, we've got this card, which is linked into the karmic scales. There's 2 cards here tied into karma. This card is about karma and this card is about karma. I'm going to just use a spray here to help me connect to Metatron in terms of what this all means. Bernie Sanders, karma. Why are we getting a double dose of karma with him? You reap what you sow. Bernie Sanders, karma. I've got that song from John Lennon in my head, Instant Karma's Gonna Get You. But we all dream on, like the stars and the moon and the sun, that one. We all fine on, whatever that song is. instant karma. He's very tied into the karma of the USA. He's a pretty important player in terms of American energy. Whether he wins, whether he loses, whether he makes it, whether he doesn't, he is bringing something up into the face of America. Another way. And I am tempted to say, because I know he is pretty polar opposite to a lot of what Donald Trump's views and policies would be, it feels as though between the two of them, they're almost like two different axes. It's as though they balance each other out. He is the opponent that Donald Trump would fear the most, I feel. If he was 10 years younger, show me his physical energy. Show me his physical energy. Bernie Sanders, show me his physical energy. That's an interesting one. I'm going to take the one that's on the bottom of the deck as well. This is the card of bottled up, repressed, pent up, needing release. Very frustrated. His health, I'm feeling his heart. Hasn't he already had a heart scare? There's this thing of intense frustration within him. Some unhealed stuff, basically, that needs release. And if it doesn't get release, that doesn't bode particularly well in terms of health. For that to be a health card, that isn't great, particularly when you are an older person. If you're sort of in your 20s and 30s and you get that sort of energy, well, you've got time to process it, look at it, heal it. When you get a little bit older, it feels as though what's been festering inside him for whatever reason, and I feel it's a sense of injustice. He passionately cares about what he feels. But it's taken a toll on his actual body. He takes it personally. He is quite a warrior though as well. But then you see I don't know, because then on the bottom of the pack we've got this one, which is to do with breakthroughs and increased self-awareness, card number 33. 33 links into the Christ energy as well. So it's almost like he may realise in time that actually I need to just, when I say cool it a bit, it might just be that he needs to take some time off. I mean, how you take time off if you're the Democrat nominee and you've just got to go through all the rounds of TV appearances, rallies, that would take a toll on anybody, even if they were a much younger, more healthy man. So if he's wise, he needs to become much more in tune with what's going on within his own body. The card here, increased self-awareness, to release some of this pent-up energy. And it feels like it's toxic. When I say it's toxic, that doesn't mean that he's toxic. It's just in the same way that if you and I, we need to have a detox or we need a healing. It's just brittle is a word that I'm feeling with his energy. There's a brittleness there with his health, and that's concerning. That is concerning. And I do pick up this sacrificial energy with him, as though he would sacrifice something to show America, another way. It's all very up in the air. How many cards have we got here? Have we got 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 cards. I'm going to pull one more card for Bernie. And let's just have a look. Let's just ask about his chances now in terms of presidency. And this can change, very much this can change day by day, but let's just see today. pulling these cards, his chances. Pick up your sword, take a stand, be heard, support a cause. Yeah, you know, that's what I said. He will, it's like a duel to the death for him, you know, literally. It's like a duel. He will give it his absolute all. And I think the people that support him know that. They know that he's in it. He's in it to win it, as they say. He will also, he has the ability to mobilize other people to stand up and take their sword. But that sword isn't a sword of violence, it's a sword of truth. Okay, I'm asking you to stand up and hold the sword of truth. That what's been happening over the last 4 years, for those that don't agree with it, that's not my truth. You stand up now and do something. It's very much teamwork here. It's not just one sword. It's not him just picking up one sword. It's a number of swords coming together. So he's able to, and this is probably what frightens, for example, Donald Trump. He's able to mobilize people. He's able to generate a lot of heat, a lot of activity, a lot of action, and there is power in that unity. You see, but there's also a skull here. There's a skull. There's this thing with him, which is just, I will... Are you feeling what I'm feeling? Ooh, there's a very sober energy just come into the room. Very sober, quite somber. Other people carrying on the fight for him. Okay, other people carrying on the fight for him. The light that he has being taken forward by others. Okay, and I also feel that when he does transition, hopefully that is in many, many years, but I feel as though he will be one of the leaders that still is working the other side of the veil for the cause that he championed in his lifetime. So it's almost like he's not going anywhere, whatever happens. His spirit lives on. Do I see him actually physically in the White House? Gut feel, intuitively, no, I don't. Because I feel as though he gets to a certain point and then somebody else has to take over. Unless he makes it in and then something happens and he has to step down or relinquish control to a deputy. That could be what I'm feeling. That is one timeline that's possible. That's assuming, of course, he beats Donald Trump anyway, which is still a big question mark. Let's just have a card for him within the White House. Okay. Show me Bernie's energy within the White House if he were to reach that position. Show me Bernie's energy within the White House if he were to reach that position. Akashic records. Deeper knowing, archaic wisdom, history. You see, look, there's another skull there. There's another skull on this card. There's 2 cards here with skulls on. I feel as though it's his spirit that is in the White House. I don't think it's him physically. This to me is a card of spirit. So the point with a relay race, Metatron's saying, is it's very important that everybody gets behind every single person in that relay race, okay, on on each leg of it. So if he's going to give it his all, and you support him and you support his brand of politics, get behind him 100%. And then whoever comes in that he hands it to, either having won and being there in the White House, but I'm still feeling that's unlikely. I think it's more likely that he gets closer to getting into the presidency, and then it may even be he passes the baton before the election. That's what I'm feeling. Either before the nomination or after the nomination. And intuitively, who I'm picking up he hands it to, it just feels a younger person. It feels a younger person. Okay, what Metatron is saying, it's that thing, again, if you follow my work, you'll know I've said this in previous videos. I've talked about how new consciousness that comes in, the elders in society and the young people in society are two ends of the axes, and the new earth is going to swing on these two axes of the elders and the young. Doesn't mean people in the middle don't have a role to play. That's not what I'm saying, but it's just there's a lot of power either end of the age spectrum. So I'm feeling as though he's representing the older end of the spectrum, and I'm just feeling it's a younger person. I'm feeling it's male, but, you know, that may not be the case. I'm feeling it's a younger male energy that he may pass the baton to. You know, I know some of the other candidates, and I'm just like, I'm thinking, is it Elizabeth Warren? Doesn't feel like her. Is it Biden? Doesn't feel like him. It feels somebody, when I say fresher, younger. I will just pull a card for those two as I've mentioned them. As I say, this isn't going to be in any great depth, and we will come back to this another time. I'd like to have a look at all their individual slogans, but you know, you can see this is all developed quite organically, this read, so I'll just put it out as it is. But let's just pull one card. Let's Elizabeth Warren. So just link into her energy for a moment. I find her quite hard to warm to. There isn't the likability factor there. Is that important? Maybe it isn't, but actually I sort of think it is. Frozen in time. Stuck, avoiding change, locked in the past is the card that comes up for her. Having said that, to be fair to the lady, this one also came out at the same time. And this one is about foresight, preparedness and contingency plan. She's got some secrets though. There's a card of secrets. There's something you're not quite seeing with her. I don't know what that is. Something being concealed. Privacy, confidentiality, concealment, keeping secrets. I'm just not feeling it. It's a horrible thing to say, but I'm just going to say it because it's my channel. I can say what I want really, but you know, I'm finding it hard to be excited. That's what I'm feeling. I'm finding it hard to get excited to even read her, to be perfectly honest. And it's got nothing to do with her politics, because to be perfectly honest, I'm not even sure what her politics are. I'm just going on her energy. I think she's pretty far left, isn't she, from what I know? But, you know, I'm not judging that. I'm being neutral here. I'm just going on the energy. It's just like I'm feeling a flatness. It's like flat line. It's like... But she's meticulous in terms of her preparation. She does her work. She's got a contingency plan. She's very prepared. She puts the hours in. You can't say she doesn't put the hours in. She does. But there's a frozen in time energy. Locked in the past. What's that on the chair? Oh, was a skull on that chair as well. So maybe there are just lots of skulls in this deck, but you know, I think that is just stuckness, isn't it? I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it with her. Let's have a look at with Biden. This is a very unusual deck to be using, to be honest, for this reading, but I'm going to go with it because it's the one I was drawn to. And actually, sometimes you can see different things, can't you, when you use different decks rather than just a straight tarot. Okay, Biden, Joe Biden. Just trying to get that image out of my head, thank you. That kiss on the lips with his granddaughter. Call me old-fashioned. Just felt very inappropriate for 2020. Put it this way, if my dad kissed my daughters on the lips like that, I would not be happy. It was like, yuck. Sorry if that offends anybody, but, you know, it's what I truly feel. It's just not. Anyway, forget that. Let's just have a look at his chances, or let's just read his energy. Let's just not even ask anything. Let's just have a card for Biden. He's got a bit more life to him than Elizabeth in terms of his energy field. It's warmer is the only way I can describe it. Caught. Caught in her web. Manipulation, drama, and intrigue. The hell does that mean? And then we've got the card of mediumship, intuition, and psychic experiences. Well, I think he's not into it at all. I think he's quite straight-laced, you know. I don't think he'd be into this sort of thing here that we're doing, you know. I get the impression he's quite, he can be a bit puritanical in his beliefs, which is fine. He's allowed to do that. But again, the era that we're moving into is a more intuitive, fluid energy. And people are opening up more and more to sensing and feeling and second sight and all of that. And I'm just not feeling he's got that. Does he need that for the job he's got? Yeah, I think increasingly people that lead our world do need these qualities. I think they do. They need to be in touch with their feminine side as well if they're a man. This card here to me is saying there's something about women with him. It's either that he mistrusts them, or he can't work particularly well with them, or he's spellbound by them, you know. He's easily manipulated by, I think it's actually he's easily manipulated by women. Maybe he's just one of these men that's like, you know, a pretty girl smiles and, you know, he's away, you know, he's lost his train of thought. I'm sure he's more professional than that, but that's sort of what I'm picking up. And the fact that she's wearing a cross around her neck, okay, she's wearing a cross. To me, that is very tied into, there's something very churchy with him. It's almost like that energy of women are either, they're either whores or saints, you know? It's sort of, there's no middle ground. He's got a complicated relationship with women and how he views women. So I think he would find it quite hard to work with a woman. I mean, he may very well have worked with plenty of women, but I'm talking about in a position of power. So, slightly strange cards for him, but let's just pull one more, because we had 3 for Elizabeth. Let's have another one for him. Ocean of Love. He's very emotional. He's very emotional. He is sensitive. Maybe he's blocked off this intuition. Maybe he does have it, but I feel it's blocked off. I mean, it'd be great if he could tap into it. I don't know whether he'd show that. Yeah, you see, we've got a card here. Yearning, craving, pain over loss. He's very emotional. He's very emotional. He's more emotional than I thought he was, actually, just tuning into his energy. So, does America need somebody who's very emotional? I don't know. It's quite interesting because on the one hand, we've got Elizabeth, who's coming across as dry is the word I'm getting, okay? Feels very dry. And there's a coldness there. There's a coldness, there's a dryness. I don't think there's a lot of humour. I think it would be, I always use the analogy, would I want to be in a room with them? When I used to do my political videos, I always used to say, would I want to be in a room with this guy or this woman? Would I want to be in a room with her? Oh gosh, it's a terrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it. I think it would be a bit boring. I think it'd be a bit boring. I think I'd get a bit bored. I think I'd be looking out the window. With Joe, yeah, I'd be in a room with him, no problem. He's a bit sort of, I'm feeling he's a bit of a loose cannon. Never quite know maybe what's going to happen with him. Expect the unexpected. He does let his emotions, his emotions rule his head. A bit like you don't quite know where you are with him either. It feels a bit slippery. He feels a bit slippery, a bit sort of like, I'm not quite sure, can't quite work you out. Not, are you really who you say you are type energy. Yeah, so let's go back to Bernie. Would I want to be in a room with Bernie? Yeah, I'd find Bernie fascinating. And what I'm being shown with Bernie is like you'd have a really deep I can't even say it, philosophical conversation, and it would be intellectually stimulating, and he would stretch you and he would challenge you, and of all of them, I would prefer to be in a room with Bernie. I'm just looking, I don't know whether this is related to what we're talking about, but I've got a painting of the Green Man over there, and the Green Man, for some reason, the painting's suddenly gone squiffy. It's like it's turned nearly 45 degrees on my wall. I'll show you. Can you see it? He's gone all wonky. So there's something about the environment. Oh, Bernie's an environmentalist, isn't he? Maybe that's what it is. Oh, it is really hard to read. It's really hard to read. In 2020, though, any political situation or election is going to be a little bit off the wall. It just is. Because we are in times of great transition and anything can happen. I will just pull a couple of cards for Donald Trump. I don't want this video to be about Donald Trump because it was more about the Democrat nominees. But as we're here, I'm going to pull it from the same deck and let's just see what we get. I'm just going to do this quickly because I want to get this video up today. Oh, well, do we have all of those cards? How many have we got? We've got 4 cards. Okay, well, you saw that. They all jumped out of the pack. Right, where do we start? Okay, we'll start with the most challenging one. Radiotoxic, toxic environment, emotional vampires. I actually feel this is tied into the environment. I was just talking about the environment and now we've got toxic environment. I feel as though one of Trump's weaknesses, if I was a Democrat, put it this way, if I was a Democrat nominee, I would be going after his environmental policy as one of the chinks in his armour. And I think if that was exploited to the fore, I think that you might be surprised at the number of people that stand up and say, actually, we care, okay? And we're a bit like these badass angels, we actually care about the environment and we care that you're not committing fully to the problems that are in our world with the environment. So that is definitely, if I was advising any of the Democrat nominees, I would be going after Trump's policy on the environment as a way to chip into his majority. The other cards for him, they're not bad, actually. Horses everywhere. 3 horses. How interesting, because, again, if you've been watching my other videos, particularly with regard to coronavirus, but also videos I haven't done yet, I channeled the 4 horses of the apocalypse. The apocalypse isn't the end of the world. The apocalypse means revelation and disclosure, okay? Now, the point is that if you put Trump's 3 horses with Bernie's 4th horse, you've got the 4 horses, okay? That, to me, is quite interesting. So it's almost like, and I know it's important who wins, but it feels it's almost more about the energy leading up to the election and what happens and what plays out and how people respond and how people deal with it, seems to be pivotal for what happens over the next 4 years, whoever wins. It's as though there is an episode between now and November in America, which is absolutely critical to the health of the nation and the direction that it takes. And it's almost as though all of these people here, Trump included, they're like bit part players, because actually the most important part is the part we're in now, leading up to November, and we're in a time of revelation and disclosure. And it's about how all of the candidates deal with the disclosures and the revelations that are to come. And this is about many things, okay? It's about many things, and it's also global as well. I also feel it's environmental. So I don't know whether there's something that happens within America in terms of an environmental situation. It could also be, thank you Metatron, he's reminding me that all of us are going to be facing an environmental impact from what's happening in China at the moment and the coronavirus. And this is linked into not so much the fact that the virus is going to spread without control, although I do see the virus spreading into other countries. It's more that there's going to be a huge economic impact from that virus that a lot of people aren't seeing, okay? And it's like we need to move the conversation on from how did it start? You know, was it a bioweapon? Was it the animals? I've talked about this in my other video. Moving on from that to actually how do we now deal with the fallout from it? Because, I mean, even in my own life, I was supposed to be going to Bali in April and I've cancelled my trip. And I'm not somebody that just cancels things left, right and centre because I'm overly worried about the state of the world. I looked at it rationally, and me and my friend both decided the same thing at the same time. It's like, do we want to sit in an airport for 9 hours waiting for a connecting flight? Do we want to be on that aeroplane for God knows how many hours? Do we want to put ourselves somewhere where there is risk? Of course, there is also risk in the UK. We've got coronavirus here, but it's just I'm feeling it's not about Bali as well either. By the way, it's more about traveling. It's about the traveling aspect to it. I'm not feeling comfortable with that. Now the point is, I'm just one person, and I won't be the only person that is actually putting off maybe booking a holiday, that type of thing. That has an impact, for example, on the travel and tourism industry. It has an impact on, flights. It all ripples down. There's going to be an economic ripple down effect from this virus, because we're living in a world where it doesn't matter whether you're in America, whether you're in France, whether you're in Britain, whether you're in Russia. We are in a global economy. There's a global economy, and it's like we're entering times where if one of us goes down, then all of us has an impact on everything. And I was watching the news this morning, and there was actually two lovely ladies on. One was a Democrat, one was a Republican. I don't think they were politicians. I think they were just members of the American public, and they were having a very civil conversation. They completely disagreed on many things. It was so heartening to see that you could sit down. These two women were sitting down, being able to talk. They were at odds with each other, but they completely respected each other. But one of them was saying, they were repeating, I think it was Bill Clinton's comment about, it's the economy, stupid. That's what wins elections. And at the moment, the US economy, she was saying, I'm not going to get into whether it is or not, is doing relatively okay, although I'm sure they're in debt, like we are, like all countries are. We're all in debt. But, that can change very easily by something that comes in that is an environmental thing, as for example, a virus that has a ripple down effect. So there's a lot that is just completely and utterly unpredictable at the moment. And I'm feeling, that's why I'm saying this period between now and whenever the election takes place, if it even takes place when it takes place, and that's a weird thing to say, because is it possible to even move it? I don't know why I would say that. I just feel something happens. Something seems to happen between now and November, and it's about how America reacts to that. And it's also about how the candidates react to it. And it feels as though the combined energies of particularly Trump and Bernie Sanders as well seems to create something that is to do with disclosure, it's to do with revelation, and it is definitely, going back to Bernie's cards, it's also to do with karma. There is some karma here at play for America. There is some karma at play. There is just karma. I mean, there's always karma, but, you know, again, now I'm just feeling like a stream of information coming through about the environment, you know, and it's about the indigenous peoples. And there's a karma coming in terms of how they've been treated, that they've been booted off their land, that they've been abused, that they've been gagged and silenced. Karma's coming back in. Maybe, do you know, the more that I read on this, yeah, I'll talk about Trump's cards in a minute, but again, it's not really, this consensual politics, maybe it's coming sooner than we think it is. I think that parties are going to have to start working together quicker than they realise they're going to. Take the UK as an example. You know, I fully intuitively sense there's going to be a breaking up of the union now that Brexit has happened. The point is, if that happens and when that happens, people are going to have to work together, you know, especially if you're in close proximity to each other. You know, Wales is just, you know, 3 hours drive away from me. If that breaks off, it's not that far. You've got to get on with your neighbours. You've got to get on with people who are right beside you. It's the start of unity consciousness, the start of actually, we've got to stop squabbling. We've got to start coming together. So these 4 horses, to me, it's more about that than anything. But I did pull these cards for Trump. So he's got 3 horses here. So he must have a power animal energy of the horse, I imagine. Now, what Metatron is saying is the thing with horses is they can be temperamental. It depends who rides them. I've never been on a horse. I'm a bit scared of horses, which is a bit sad, really. Inherited that from my mum. But anyway, a horse, I believe I'm right in saying a horse senses the rider on its back, okay? And it can either rile against that, or it can be at peace with that and ride that person to victory. So anyway, he's got the energy of the horse. We've got the doing the right thing, loyalty and ethics. So what does that mean in relation to Trump? He's trying to do the right thing, okay? He's trying to do the right thing. Loyalty and ethics. Who is he loyal to, okay, is the question. Who is he loyal to? And again, this isn't just Trump. This would apply to all of them. This is coming up for all politicians around the world. Who pays them? Who pays them? Who are they indebted to? Who are they indebted to? Who is he indebted to? You know, who helps get him into office financially? And as I say, that's not just about him. It's about all the other politicians around our world as well. So it's like he's doing the right thing linked into the people who are paying him to do the right thing. He's loyal to that. He has got a card of better days ahead. So that's a good card. And he's also got the magic beanstalk, okay? The magic beanstalk. And this is a card linked into ascension. It's linked into elevation, and it's linked into reaching new heights. Put those two together, looks good. It looks good for him. I have intuitively felt for the past year, to be perfectly honest, that, you know, unless the Democrats can get their act together, and they've had 4 years to do it, he will just Donald Trump will walk into another 4 years of presidency. And the closer it's getting, and because the Democrat nomination is not clear who it's going to be, and then there's this whole situation with Bernie and his age and everything else I've discussed, and the baton race, I'm not quite sure who the other person is he's running with, blah, blah, blah. At the moment, you know, Trump is looking quite strong to be able to lead the country. This is what he's going to be saying. I'm leading you into better days ahead. I want to help us reach new heights. And again, whether you like the guy or whether you don't like him, and he's very divisive as a character, that is the ascension journey as well. It's about looking at duality. It's about looking at light and shadow. So he has a role to play with regards to that. He has a role to play in also showing America its own light and dark, its own shadow, its own light, its own opportunity, as well as the depths to which it can sink. Okay? So these characters that come on the stage, such as Donald Trump, such as any of them, they are all part of the ascension journey. This is what makes me laugh sometimes, where people sort of just pick one person out. And Trump seems to be picked out by some light workers in particular as like this great light worker. The point is, anybody in a position of power at the moment is part of the ascension journey, because they can't not be, because they're playing a role. And some people are playing roles which is sort of like, you know, swashbuckler, you know, fighting for the light type thing. And other people are playing maybe the bad guys, you know. But the bad guys are also part of the ascension journey, because without the bad or the shadow, the light hasn't got anything to go against to show what needs healing. So it's really wrong just to put one person on a pedestal and say they're the one that's doing it. Every single person on this planet, without exception, is playing a part in the ascension of this beautiful earth that we're on. So that's really important to keep in mind, because we have to get to a more balanced state. Because at the moment, the ground underneath our feet is very shaky. So back to grassroots. Grassroots, it needs to happen at grassroots level, this new consciousness that comes in. And we all need to play our part. Just going to have some water. I think I'll end with a crystal card. I started with a crystal. I'm going to end with a crystal. At the end of the day, we need to respect other people's opinions, whether we agree with them or we don't. And we need to see all of these players as part of the greater plan. And then take that down into your country if you're not in America. Everyone's playing the role that they are assigned to play in this incarnation, without exception. Let's have a crystal energy to finish with, please, Metatron. Navona Quartz. I haven't got that. I know I haven't got Navona Quartz. Number 29, 2 and 9 make 11, which is Metatron's number. I have no idea what Navona Quartz is all about, so I'm going to have to read it from the book. Interesting that we've got two crystals that are the pure white energy. 29. This one was about cosmic evolution, azechulite. Navona Quartz is about enlightenment. Navona Quartz assists in stepping off the karmic wheel, bringing light and bliss consciousness. For many lifetimes you have been working with your karma that has now passed. There is no need for restitution, nor punishment or guilt. Let those go so that you recognize your full potential, receiving a download of cosmic light that transforms your being. It's got an exceptionally high frequency, and it helps embody enlightenment on earth. Whatever happens with America and with this election, there is huge karmic cleansing going on in terms of any event that happens, in terms of how it all plays out. You can do your part in helping to soften this by working through and helping to release karma that you hold as well. That is a whole other video. I'm not going to get into that here. We're being given a tool here by Metatron, which is Navona Quartz, okay? And maybe carrying that could be quite helpful. Both of those crystals actually could be quite helpful to find. You know, look at that picture of that. That looks like an old wise man to me. Can you see like the face? It's like an old wise man. I also feel as though there is a huge influx of white cosmic light that is going to be coming in to illuminate and help with all of this. So, I mean, to be honest, this feels a bit like what I'm being given is, it's, you know, when you do a jigsaw, well, no, it's not even doing the jigsaw. It's like getting a jigsaw box, throwing all the pieces up in the air and like just seeing them all land in spectacular fashion everywhere. And somehow we've got to put it all together. Okay. That's sort of where we are at the moment. So I'm going to leave it there for now. And I'm going to send you much love. And I'm going to ask you to stay in your heart and to beam out that beautiful white light to the world, to your enemy, as well as to the one that you love. And also taking that white heart energy, this is selenite, into your own heart. Much love, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other in the comments, okay? That's what we do on this channel. We practice the energy of Namaste. Bye for now. I'm going to go make my mum a birthday cake. I don't think my daughter's got out of bed to do it, so okay, that's my day. Bye for now.